Good afternoon, everyone. Today is October 14th, 2025. It's 3 p.m. This is a Prescott City Council voting meeting. Mayor Pro Tem, do we have any announcements or introductions?
Several. The City Council Subcommittee on Appointments is currently seeking applications from citizens who are interested in serving on the following city boards and commissions and committees. The board, commission, committee term number of upcoming vacancies must be, and you must be a Prescott resident. The Pedestrian, Bicycle, and Traffic Committee, the Advisory Committee, the Airport Advisory Committee, which is a short term from March 2025 to March 2027. So boards, commissions, and committees provide opportunities for citizens to take an active role in their local government. Members are appointed to the City Council upon recommendation from the Council Subcommittee on Appointments following review of applications. Applications are due to the City by 5 o'clock on Friday, October 24th. For more information, visit the City's website at City of Prescott Boards, Commissions, and Committees vacancies, or contact the City Clerk's office at 928-777-1437. Starting Monday, October 6th, the City of Prescott and their contractor, Combs Construction Company, will be returning to the downtown area to install the next set of removable bollards in downtown intersections. The bollard is a short vertical post that is used to safely separate pedestrians from vehicles for parade routes and special events. Bollards will be installed in the following intersections: the east and west sides of the Montezuma Street and Goodwin Street intersection, the east and west sides of the Cortez and Goodwin Street intersection, and the south side of the Montezuma Street and Sheldon Street intersection. Intersections will be partially closed 24 hours for bollard installation from October 6th through November 3rd. These closures are necessary to allow crews to complete this work prior to the Veterans Day Parade. The 2025 Veterans Day Parade will be held in downtown Prescott on Tuesday, November 11th, 2025 at 11 o'clock. This year's parade theme is Celebrating America's Patriots, 250 years of military service. The City of Prescott is inviting parade entrants from the community to compete in 7 categories this year. Each entry category will have a first place winner, and all entries will compete for a best overall award. The categories are: number 1, nonprofit organizations; number 2, fraternal organizations or military organizations; number 3, motorized groups; number 4, music; number 5, marching units; number 6, hospital entries by veterans; and number 7 is commercial or business entries. Participation in the parade is open to everyone, and all are welcome. Individuals, businesses, organizations, and groups interested in participating in the parade are asked to return your entry form no later than October 20th, 2025. There is no fee to enter, and application forms and rules can be found on the city website. Number 4 issue, as you may know by now, the Prescott City Council runoff election is set for November 4th, with 5 city council candidates vying for 3 seats. Best of luck to the candidates, many of whom are here in the room today, if you raise your hand. We look forward to swearing in our new council members and mayor on November 18. Also on November 4, there is a ballot initiative for the Arizona Public Service with APS franchise agreement. The current franchise agreement with APS expires in May of 2026 after 25 years. Voters are asked to renew the agreement for another 25 years, and a yes vote declares this electrical utility is beneficial to the citizens of Prescott. One last item, Mayor. Join other Arizona cities and towns by using social media to promote your city or town during the 24th Annual Cities and Towns Week. The 24th Annual Arizona Cities and Towns Week will be held October 19th through the 25th. Arizona Cities and Towns Week is set aside each year to recognize services cities recognize the services cities and towns provide, as well as honor those elected officials and staff and volunteers who serve in the municipal government. Thank you.
Well, today is the National Remembrance Day for the loss of Charlie Kirk. Charlie was a Christian, patriotic, free speech advocate and an amazing young man. So I would ask a moment of silence to recognize his passing and the impact he had on almost a whole generation of young people. Thank you very much. And I'd also like to remind everyone that this council passed a resolution last year condemning Hamas and recognizing and supporting Israel. Yesterday was a historic date for the cessation of hostilities in Israel and in Gaza, and what looks like the beginning of a huge period of peace in the Middle East. And we're so happy and amazed that President Trump was able to conclude those arrangements, and all those hostages have been returned to their loved ones. So with that said, we will now have an invocation from Pastor Dan Hurlburt of the Prescott United Methodist Church, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance from Councilwoman Furworth.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, staff. I've been pleased to participate in the current iteration of the Citizens Academy, and I've been amazed at the professionalism and passion of the many employees that work here in Prescott. And I just want to recommend my fellow citizens to sign up for that. It's been an honor. Let us pray. Gracious and loving God, we thank you for this beautiful day in our mountain home. We thank you for the much needed rain and for those who've maintained our roads and waterworks during the storms. We pray for the people around our state who have lost life and property due to the flooding, and we ask for your comfort and peace. We pray for those whose time on this council is coming to an end shortly. We thank you for helping them serve faithfully. And we pray for those who will take office or continue in office. Guide them by your Spirit and in your wise ways. We thank you for the myriad of people in and out of this room who love and serve this, your city. Be with us now during this meeting time and turn our hearts and actions toward you. We pray this in the name of the one who taught us to love our neighbors. Amen.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We'll now have roll call, please.
Mayor Good.
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Cantelmi.
Here.
Councilwoman Freeworth.
here.
Councilman Gambogi.
I am here.
Councilman Grady.
Here.
And the record will reflect that Councilman Montoya and Councilman Moore are excused from the meeting.
We have two proclamations now. The first one is the National Friends of Libraries Week, which will be presented by Councilman Grady.
Afternoon. It's really my honor to be with you today and to do the mayor's proclamation for National Friends of Libraries Week. And Melissa, I believe, might be present. If okay, or members of the Friends, come on up. Thank you. Hi, I'm Patrick. Hi, nice to meet you. Good, we have a whole group. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you. So thank you. I know that the Friends of the Library have done so much for our community. I believe you were founded in 1968. Okay. And have raised close to $2 million, to benefit our library and our citizens. So I think it's only appropriate that we celebrate your work with this proclamation, which I'm going to read now. Whereas Friends of the Prescott Public Library generously raise funds that enable our library to move from good to great, providing the resources for additional programming, much needed equipment, support for children's summer reading, and special events throughout the year. And whereas the work of the Friends highlights an ongoing basis the fact that our library is the cornerstone of the community, providing opportunities for all to engage in the joy of lifelong learning and connects with the thoughts and ideas of others from ages past to the present. Whereas the Friends understand the critical importance of well-funded libraries and advocate to ensure that our library gets the resources needed to provide a wide variety of services to all ages, including access to print and electronic materials and expert assistance in research, readers advisory, and children's services. And whereas the Friends' gift of their time and commitment to the library sets an example for all in how volunteerism leads to positive civic engagement and the betterment of our community. Now, therefore, Phil Good, Mayor of the City of Prescott, does hereby proclaim October 19th to the 25th, 2025 as National Friends of Libraries Week, and encourages everyone to support the Friends of the Library and express our gratitude for their efforts in enhancing both our library and our community. Thank you, and if you'd like to say a few words.
I would, please. Thank you to the city, to our mayor and our council members for recognizing Friends of the Prescott Public Library. I'm Barb Collins. I'm the board president, and I'm joined here today by three of our board members, Deb McCaslin, Mike Seifert, and Rosie Hartner. As you know, our library is more than just a list of services. It's Prescott's living room. Since 1967, the Friends Board has been able to do what we do because of the generous donations from members of our community. We work diligently to be the best stewards that we can be with the monies that are entrusted to us to enhance our library. The amount of improvements seen through a myriad of ways only happens because of our charitable donors. So, as honored as we are to be recognized by our city council and the city of Prescott, this proclamation also belongs to the citizens of Prescott for their unwavering support of our thriving library. Thank you all so much, and I hope to see all of you at the Prescott Public Library. Thank you so much. Yeah, I appreciate it.
Take a picture. See our staff person out here, so thank you.
Okay, thanks. Oh, sure.
Get somebody. Thanks again for all you do.
Thank you so much.
Okay, we now have a proclamation for Arizona Community Foundation Day, presented by Mayor Pro Tem Connie Cantelmi.
Lisa, come on up. How are you? Nice to see you. Thank you for coming up and coming in today. This is I've been involved with this organization in the past. It's a wonderful organization. They do so much. If you ever get a chance to look into this, it's amazing what you all pull off. It's great. So this is the Arizona Community Foundation Day, which is November 15th, 2025. Whereas philanthropy is a cornerstone of our community, strengthening local organizations, addressing critical needs, and fostering a spirit of generosity. And whereas November 15th is officially recognized as National Philanthropy Day, a time to honor the individuals, businesses, foundations whose charitable efforts create positive change in our society. And whereas the Arizona Community Foundation, ACF, has served the state since 1978, building a strong philanthropic legacy by connecting donors with causes they care about and providing critical support to nonprofit organizations. And whereas the Arizona Community Foundation has made a tremendous impact on the well-being and sustainability of nonprofits in the city of Prescott, providing crucial funding, technical assistance, and leadership to empower them in their vital work. And whereas the ACF's enduring commitment to improving the quality of life for all residents in our city through strategic and impactful giving is deserving of special recognition. Now, therefore, Phil Good, the mayor of the city of Prescott, does hereby proclaim November 15th, 2025 as Arizona Community Foundation Day. In the city of Prescott, Foundation Day, I'm not sure that makes sense, but the City of Prescott encourages all citizens to recognize the invaluable contributions of the Arizona Community Foundation and its role in building a more vibrant and sustainable community. Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you, Mayor Good and council members. ACF has been a part of the state since 1978, and we've been a part of this community with a local office since 92, 93. And I always say, this is an incredibly generous community. So thank you for your support of us, which enables us to support the community and the nonprofits throughout the Prescott area. Thank you.
All right, we'll now move on to the open call to the public. City
Thank you,
Clerk?
Mayor. The City of Prescott welcomes public engagement, and residents may comment and address the council regarding matters that are not included on the posted agenda during the call to the public. If you wish to speak, please complete a green speaker card and submit it to me prior to the meeting being convened. As a reminder, speakers are limited to 4 minutes, and the call to the public will be limited to 40 minutes in total, with the following stipulations. Citizens are limited to addressing the council on the same topic only 4 times in total. If a topic has been addressed more than 5 times by different speakers, the mayor may limit future discussions on the topic, and topics of a primarily national concern may be limited at the discretion of the mayor. I do have one comment card today, and it is from Ryan Heath.
Hello again. Yes, I'm Ryan Heath. I am Sherry Hanna's attorney. I spoke at the last meeting a few weeks ago about my client's intent to sue the city. I don't want to be here. I don't want to have to drive up from Phoenix to talk to you. But the fact is, the people behind me don't deserve to pay my legal fees because some of you are lying. That's the truth. Anyone that wants to know what's going on can go to the Prescott Pulse Substack, prescottpulse.substack.com, and read in detail what happened with the unlawful appointment of Councilman Grady. So here's the deal. You had an executive session this morning to discuss the litigation, and you got advice from your attorney, and you decided not to vote. I was actually here at 9 a.m. hoping to have some sort of interaction with you, to provide comment, to give you some basis to walk away from the situation. So if there isn't resolution by the end of the day today, you can expect a lawsuit tomorrow. And you can expect a TRO, a temporary restraining order, and an order to show cause. You're going to find out why Mark Elias blocked me on Twitter. You're going to find out why Harmeet Dillon follows me on Twitter. And you're going to find out why I've spoken at 2 national litigation conferences despite being 33 years old. I'm one of the best attorneys in the state. And you're about to find out why.
That's all, Mayor.
Okay, we'll move on to the consent agenda. Does anyone on the council wish to remove anything from consent? Hearing no removals, then I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve items 8A through F
Second.
on the consent agenda.
Second again.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Please vote.
Passes 5-0.
Okay, we'll move on to consent ordinance 9A.
I'm going to read 9A and 9B since they are on the consent ordinance together. They can be discussed separately if council chooses to do so.
Very good.
Adoption of ordinance number 2025-1912, an ordinance of the mayor and council of the city of Prescott, Yavapai County, Arizona, approving a lease agreement, city contract number 2026-114 with OJBFC for leasing the athletic field and certain improvements at Ken Lindley Park. And adoption of 4 ordinances related to previously approved rezoning actions as follows. 1. Ordinance number 2025-1908, an ordinance of the mayor and council of the city of Prescott, Yavapai County, Arizona, amending the zoning of certain property within the city of Prescott, generally located on both sides of East Rosser Street at 600 and 621 East Rosser Street, from residential single-family SF35 zoning district to multifamily medium-density MFM zoning district. Number 2, ordinance number 2025-1909, an ordinance of the mayor and council of the city of Prescott, Yavapai County, Arizona, amending the zoning of certain property within the city of Prescott, generally located on the east side of Gale Gardner Way, south of Westridge Drive at 780 Gale Gardner Way, from residential single-family SF9 zoning district to multifamily medium-density MFM zoning district. Number 3, ordinance number 2025-1910, an ordinance of the mayor and council of the city of Prescott, Yavapai County, Arizona, amending the zoning of certain property within the city of Prescott, generally located north of Fair Street, located at 826 Sunset Avenue, from multifamily medium-density MFM to business regional BR zoning district. And number 4, ordinance number 2025-1911, an ordinance of the mayor and council of the city of Prescott, Yavapai County, Arizona, amending the zoning of certain property within the city of Prescott, generally located between Haas Boulevard and Whispering Rock Road, east off of Willow Creek Road, from business general BG to business regional BR zoning district.
Congratulations. That was impressive. We'll start with item 9A. Council, does anybody have a question or a comment regarding that? Councilwoman Furworth.
Thank you, Mayor. We had delayed taking action on this in order to allow the public a full 2 weeks, actually now greater than 2 weeks, to be able to bring any issues forward. I did hear from a friend this weekend about some concerns being expressed in the neighborhood, even though we didn't get any public comments being submitted. But the concerns, and I thought it was worth at least discussing. I think this is an amazing project. I remain supportive of it, but I do think the neighborhood brought some concerns forward that I wanted to ensure that we considered and saw if we had a plan to help mitigate the concerns. The concerns were regarding parking, especially throughout their neighborhood, hours and expectations regarding events scheduled, which then exacerbated the third concern, which is noise from the loudspeakers throughout the day and the evening. And so, considering we've heard those things from some other neighborhoods with some other big facilities around them, I thought it was more than worthy to make sure that we have that discussion before we take a vote on this item.
Certainly, thank you. Christy Diaz-Trahan, your Parks and Recreation Director. As it relates to parking, the campus itself has about 150 parking spaces. There's additional street parking on Willis and Washington that if people park correctly, that's about another 50 spaces. So in general, that space has about 200 parking spaces. Historically, there have been a handful of Saturdays where there has been parking challenges, and it had primarily been because the museum had a big event. There was some activity on the field, and then we, Recreation Services, had a large event. And recognizing that, our Recreation Services team communicates very closely with the people at the museum. So if they've already have something pre-planned, we're more flexible in the way we can do our programming. So we would just opt to do it on a different evening or a different Saturday. So in terms of parking, through communication and through scheduling, by and large, we can mitigate any challenges.
Yeah, you can continue.
Thank you. So if there's like specifically, and I hope there will be, tournaments, large tournaments where families are coming from all over the state, is it possible to tap into some other local campuses or even the parking lot here and other places where we could have families know there's places to go versus risking them parking somewhere illegally and getting towed in their experience in Prescott?
Right, that's not the experience we want for our visitors, right? Nor do we want it for our neighbors. So yes, the college is right around the corner. OJB has a great relationship with the college, and so that could be an opportunity for weekend and overflow parking where they have fewer students on campus, as well as working with some neighboring properties up the road. That's certainly something that's doable.
Fabulous. So to bring on the other question in terms of hours and expectations for the neighborhoods about events, is there any understanding of what the hours might be and how will we mitigate or help the noise situation for the neighborhood?
Certainly. So the park hours are from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. We do have some seasonal hours where it draws back in the winter time. So it would remain a park with park hours. So not just the sport field, but the skate park, the playground, and everything that's included there. In terms of noise, we will work closely with OJB in terms of their announcing. Likely it would be limited to tournament play, and we will gauge that. We'll work with the community to develop a good relationship.
Thank you. I appreciate your attention, and I am supportive of your plans. Thanks.
Thank you.
Councilman Gambogi?
So if there is no other events, you feel comfortable we have enough parking?
Yes, sir, I do.
What's the distance between the college and the soccer field? Roughly.
About a 3-minute drive. I'm not that familiar, so maybe a 10-minute walk.
So if they park at the college, there's got to be a shuttle to the soccer field.
Perhaps there could sometimes for sporting events, families will come together. They'll drop the kids off and the stuff. They'll take 4 cars off-site and park. Everyone jumps in a car and bring one back. So there's a lot of logistics that can happen. But for a larger tournament, that would be something that OJB would have to navigate in terms of shuttling and providing overflow parking.
And you were successful coordinating with the museum between Parks and Rec and the museum not to have compounding events at the same time.
Yes, sir, we have been.
Can OJB do the same?
I'm sure they can.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
I did have a couple of concerns about the potential for leaching of PFAS into the soil underneath this field turf 3-layer sand rubber system. So I appreciate the fact that you provided this study that was conducted by the Gradient Corporation in just last July of 2025. So at least my concerns about any potential contamination have been assured that this is a very stable material, and the chances of any leaching into the soil is virtually non-existent. So that's important to know. My second concern is this is a 25-year agreement, and having OJB provide the installation and maintenance of this material over that period of time should compensate for any costs involved. And at the end of that period of time, the condition of the field would be then either the city's responsibility or subject to a renewal of a lease. My concern is what happens after 10 to 12 years. This material is supposed to last about that time. I'm not sure how often it's been used in a high elevation environment with extremes of cold and heat that we experience. But even if it's on the shorter end of that period, what happens if OJB is no longer operating 10 years from now? Then the city would have to step in and try to reestablish a usable turf. Has that been discussed?
Mr. Mayor, that has not been discussed. So hypothetically, if OJB is not around in 10 years when the general life of the turf needs to be replaced, then the city certainly would have a decision to make. And our decision is, do we work to fund replacement? Do we seek out grants? Do we seek out other sport organizations? Remove the turf and go back to natural turf? So if we get to that point, then there are decisions that we will have to make.
Well, I think one of the benefits that I don't think has been emphasized enough is the fact that we're already using about 200,000 gallons of water annually on this natural turf field. So that's equivalent to almost 7 acre-feet of water that we're no longer going to have to provide to this field. And 7 acre-feet of water is enough for about 56 homes, I believe. So that's a substantial amount of water savings for our water budget, and that's annually. So over 10 years, you're talking about 70 acre-feet, and even in our residential water budget, we have 25 acre-feet per year. So I think that alone can be a very substantial benefit to the city in our water resource management.
I would agree, and if I may, you're missing a comma. It's actually 2 million gallons, not 200,000.
Well, that would still be equivalent to 7 acre-feet.
Even better, right?
326,000 gallons per acre-foot.
Yeah.
So times 7, that would
It's a lot
be
of
2
water.
million. Yeah. So we're on the same page, but my announcements were a little bit inadequate. So thank you for that correction. All you people watching online, we're on the same page. Thank you. Do we have any other concerns? Then I'll entertain a motion here.
Mayor, you do have one public comment card
Thank
if
you.
you'd like to take it.
Oh, okay, sure.
Kathy Rusing.
Mayor-elect Kathy Rusing. I saw online the conversation about parking, and so I called a couple of property owners that live across the street from the park on Washington. Several generations I talked to, long-term family here in town. They love living across the street from Ken Lindley Park. They enjoy all the activities over there. They can just walk right across the street. It's right in their front yard, as they say. And I asked about parking and what problems they had. They said occasionally there has been a problem, blocking a driveway or something. And they have the phone number of the athletic director. They would just give them a call and it would be taken care of. Or they could call, they had a number for someone at the city that they could call and get the problem cleared up. So they were generally pleased. I went out there yesterday and drove around in the neighborhood. It did look like we could improve parking with some better signage, like there's no parking all along the Ken Lindley side of Washington. It just said no parking, very small signs. If it's going to be a fire lane, maybe we could work with the fire chief and and get a red stripe and maybe some signage that says it's a fire lane. And there was absolutely no striping out in the street in the area because it had just recently been resurfaced. It looked very nice, but I suggest we work with the striping people when it's appropriate to get it restriped and have parking actually, outlined clearly for people to park. And also, I'm a big fan of painting curbs red, where driveways are, so people don't block the driveways. But I think this is a world-class group that we have working with us here in Prescott, and I'm very excited about their donation. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, you asked for a motion?
Quite yet. Mayor Pro Tem?
Thank you. I don't know why it's not showing up on my screen, but the request button, Sarah, I don't know if I have to reset it, but anyway, I did have a question, Dallin, for our city manager. So when we talked about this last time, I had made sort of a suggestion that we keep count of all of the savings that were the waters one, the lawn mowing. Somehow we can quantify the savings over the next 10 to 12 years that we can justify if we do have to replace that. We'd be able to offset that with what we're saving in terms of replacing the real grass. So there's a price of, affixed to the water savings, the labor savings. I'd like to see a, comprehensive list of that kept for the 10 to 12 years that it is going to be serviceable. Thank you.
Councilman Gambogi, would you like to make a motion?
May I please?
Yeah, please do.
I move to adopt ordinance number 2025-1912, approving city contract number 2026-114 between the City of Prescott and OJBF Football Club, an Arizona 501c nonprofit, for the improvements to use of Ken Lindley Field.
I second.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote.
Passes 5-0.
Very good. We'll move on to item 9B. Is there any public comment or any discussion regarding this item?
No public comment, Mayor.
Do you have any?
No, I was about to make the motion.
Hearing no comments or concerns, I'll entertain a motion.
Mayor, I move to adopt consent ordinance item number 9B. You're not going to make me read the whole thing, Sarah.
You absolutely do not need to do that.
Thank goodness.
Second.
I second it.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote.
Councilman Grady, you can just give it to me verbally if it's not working. Passes 5-0.
Very good. Liquor license number 10A.
Public hearing and consideration for a new Series 12 liquor license application from Amy Nations, applicant for Bill's Grill, location 333 South Montezuma Street. The application fee has been paid and the sign has been posted for the required 20 days. Staff has reviewed the application and determined that it is in compliance and no public comments have been received.
Mr. Mayor, I move to close the public hearing.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote.
Passes 5-0.
Mayor, I move to approve liquor license number 357154 for a new Series 12 liquor license for Bill's Grill.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote.
Councilman Gambogi? Thank you. Passes 5-0.
Very good. We'll move on to liquor license application number 10B.
Public hearing and consideration for a location owner transfer Series 7 beer and wine liquor license application from Amy Nations, applicant for the Plat, location 124 South Granite Street. The application fee has been paid and the sign has been posted for the required 20 days. Staff has reviewed the application and determined that it is in compliance and no public comments have been received.
Then I'll entertain a motion.
Mayor, I move to close the public hearing.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote.
Passes 5-0.
Mayor, I move to approve liquor license application number 357489 for a location owner transfer Series 7 beer wine liquor license for the Plat, location 124 South Granite Street.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote.
Passes 5-0.
Very good. Now we move on to the good stuff. Regular agenda item 11A.
SUP 25-001, a request for a special use permit for a remodel that adds 50% or more to the value of existing structures relative to the pre-remodel values as required by Land Development Code Section 4.9.4.A.1, location 130 North Cortez Street, owner 130 Cortez LLC, applicant Michael Taylor Architects.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, Council. Tammy DeWitt, Community Planner. So before you today is a special use permit that is required by the Land Development Code, Section 494A1, for any proposed building doing a remodel that adds 50% or more to the value of existing structures relative to the pre-model values in the downtown business district. This is located in the North Prescott National Register District, so it is in a national district, not a local district, but it did include a cursory review that's required by our Land Development Code by the Prescott Preservation Commission before it went to the Planning and Zoning Commission. So with a special use permit, there's 4 compatibility reviews that we look at per the Land Development Code for the special use permit. First is construction and exterior building materials shall be high quality and long lasting. Structures shall demonstrate the general principles of good design, including but not limited to those dealing with form, mass, scale, height, texture, and color. Specific consideration shall be given to compatibility with other like structures in the vicinity where such structures are substantially in compliance with this LDC. The architectural design of structures and their materials and colors shall be visibly harmonious with the overall appearance, history, and cultural heritage of downtown Prescott. Generous use of architectural interest elements is encouraged. And number 4, all mechanical equipment shall be screened from view in accordance with the requirements of the LDC. So this is the building that's under review. They did get a demo permit to demo the first floor prior to going through this process. So the first floor has been gutted out and demoed and has been boarded up. And then they'll be doing more work as it moves forward through the process. Here are some pictures provided by the applicant. This was historically all Prescott brick. As you saw from the previous slide, a lot of it has been covered up by stucco, which we see throughout the downtown business district. For these historical buildings, due to a lot of the Prescott bricks started to crumble and fall apart, so they did stucco. We do have one wall on the other side that's still the brick facade. The applicant, the pictures do show the balconies. The applicant did consider balconies with their redevelopment, but with the brick and how old the building was, it wasn't structurally safe to put those on the front, so they are not considered with the remodel of this project. And here's another picture showing it with the Prescott Hotel sign that will remain on this side of the building, which still has the Prescott brick, which is considered a ghost sign. But this kind of shows you what it looked like previously down that, looking up Cortez Street compared to what it looks like now. So with this, the proposed changes, they have a new first floor area. They're adding the awning, which is very characteristic of in our downtown business district. They are also redoing the front facade to mimic kind of what it looked like back originally before it had the modifications. They're going to install an elevator. The second and third floors are going to be converted to apartments, which are historical use of the property. And they're also adding a fourth story that would be recessed back, taking in some of the characteristics of the building. Because this is in the National Register, we did have this reviewed by SHPO, and we do apologize that that was not in your packet. It didn't carry over from our planning and zoning, but they did review it against the National Park Service's Secretary of Interior standards for the treatment of historic properties, in particular rehabilitation, and there were 10 things they went over, and that analysis was given to you, but things they favored with the...
Excuse me, Tammy, but
Sure.
Mayor Pro Tem Ken Tommy has a question.
No, I'm sorry, I'll take that back. That was, we were trying to get it to work, so just didn't remove it. Move on.
Okay, Councilwoman Furworth.
Thank you, Mayor. Tammy, just a question. You said second, third, and fourth floor are going to be residences. Do you know what any planned usage yet for the first floor? Is it going to be retail, restaurants? Do we know anything?
A mix of the retail restaurant. They're still working that out. They're starting to start the engineered plans for this to get more further along with their plans based on what the outcome is of this meeting to make sure the fourth floor is approved. But yeah, the idea is retail or restaurant or that type of hospitality use.
Wonderful. I'm so happy to see this building coming back to life. So
Definitely.
thank you.
You're welcome.
Tammy, how many residential units total will there be?
There'll be
They're going to be apartments on second and third floor, and then a penthouse at the very top.
Yes, on the second and third floor, each will have 3 residences, and then there'll be the owner's quarters up on the 4th floor.
So there'll be 7 residential units,
Correct.
and we're only offering 6 parking spaces in the rear of the building.
I'll get to that further in my presentation.
Yes or no?
I will get to that further in my presentation.
Yes or no?
No.
Thank you.
So per the national standards, things that they're maintaining and incorporating into the 4th story is that the 4th story, they are adding arches to mimic the lower windows. They are maintaining the second and third floor story windows and all the elements of that part of the building. They're just going to be enhancing it a little bit and then painting it and then incorporating some of those characteristics up into the 4th story. So on the back of the building, it is open right now. They are proposing this patio, which is some parking underneath, but that's to allow for an area for the people that live there to hang out or to have an outdoor space above what little parking they can put on the property. And on the 4th story, as you can see, they're maintaining the arches over the windows. And it is set back, which is very favorable when you look at the interior standards. When you do a 4th story for these type of buildings, they do want it set back. So from the street view, which is where we look at the main street view, when you look at the historic standards, they're always looking from the straight view. What does it look like from the pedestrian, from the street, the main street effect? So we want those buildings to be set back if they're added onto the 4th. Here also, again, this shows the side. They will keep the Prescott Hotel ghost sign on here. This is the side that still has the brick. This shows the patio in the back above the 1st story. So this is the back of the building. They do have the required emergency egress that comes down onto this patio. As they've been getting further along in their building requirements and their egress requirements, we do have the staircase that comes down, which takes up a couple of parking spaces. But along this side of the staircase, they also have to have another egress for anybody else that's in the building to get out. So that's taking away a couple of parking spaces. So as they've been working through this, they can only fit about 3 parking spaces on site. But for the parking concerns, we did find this historical photo to show it has been apartments in the past. Per the Land Development Code, Section 494 in the Downtown Business Standards for parking and loading, that off-street parking within the downtown business shall not be required for permitted uses within buildings constructed prior to 1968. This building was built prior to 1900 and has been used as apartments in the past prior to 1968. So because of that, it is not required to have any off-street parking for the existing apartments, but they are providing the parking for the new residents up top, so they'll have the 3 parking spaces that could be used for that. So per our land development code, they are not required, similar to other hospitality-related uses.
Councilwoman Furworth has a question.
Thank you, Tammy. If you could go back 2 slides to the photo that looks like this. Yeah, so what I'm looking at is the big patio for the deck, and I'm seeing that only 3 cars are going to be able to park underneath that, and then there's a lot of space. What's going on under there? Why is there only spots for 3 cars?
So they do have the staircase that comes down here that's inside the property that takes away probably ability for 2 parking spaces. Adjacent to that, to meet the building code requirements for egress, they have to have another walkway. And we just found this out as they're going through their plans that this is required. So in this area right here where that car is next to the staircase, that can't be used for anything but an egress out of the building. So all you have is that other half or those other 2 cars. So once you be able to pull the cars in and be able to pull back carefully, to have them angled to come in, that there's only probably room for about 3 parking spaces. They're still solidifying that as they're moving along. They also, part of the problem, is that they were hoping to be able to put their power pedestals and such adjacent to the building, and in working with APS because of this covered awning, it has to go out towards the alley at the end of these stairs. So there's something else that's taking up room there to be able for ingress or egress.
But to go back to this picture, I'm looking at each floor, and I'm seeing there's going to be 3 apartments on one floor, 3 apartments on the other floor, and yet that section underneath the patio is almost as long as a floor, and yet we're only going to have 3 cars. So there's got to be something in the picture with they're all parked there. Something is behind that wall, behind the trunks. What's going to be underneath the patio?
Well, you have the staircase that comes down, so that takes up space on the outside of the building. But as the cars aren't going to be able to park like that, they're going to be coming in at an angle, and so it's good. They're going to take up about half that space to be able to pull in and pull out safely. And then the other half, where the staircase is, you have an egress path that has to be to meet building code requirements. Where that other car is next to the staircase, there's an egress path that takes up probably about where all that car space there coming out. So that's something that's still being worked out as they're getting further along with their engineered plans and getting into the building codes that's going to pertain to this.
Councilman Gambogi.
I only had one question, but thanks to Lois now, I'm going to expand it and build on hers. I'm looking at the prints here. How long from that dimension, that dimension of that patio, how long is that from the building out to the edge?
I'll have to defer that to the applicant. I don't have that in front of me.
Is the applicant here?
Yes, the engineer is here. The architect is here.
You have two egresses. The one steps down from the patio, and then the fire escape down into the below the patio. So we're wrestling with why can you only fit 3 cars in there?
Okay. Good afternoon, council members. My name is Colin Lovedahl. I'm with Michael Taylor Architects. It's unfortunate. These drawings are almost 4 months old between the break, but with the council and the other and your calendar. These drawings are a little bit old. I can expand a little bit on this. So on the left-hand side of what you see, as Tammy correctly stated, is an egress from the patio area that would serve the second floor. As she mentioned also, there needs to be egress from that door on the bottom and the stairway on the right-hand side so that people can safely traverse at a limited grade all the way out to the alley.
Are there 2 egresses?
Yes, yes. Additionally, we were working with APS to get the SES, the service entrance for the building underneath. We can't put it underneath, so it needs to be out nice and wide, taking up part of the access way from the alley as well. So the only configuration we can still get to work to allow any cars under there and give them the ability to safely back out is to come in about where that door is represented in the middle, coming straight in and then parking at an angle off to the right. That patio is about 48 feet deep, and parking at an angle for a 19-foot deep by 9-foot wide parking stall, we consume that entire area up to the far right stairway. I apologize. I wish we could have gotten you a more current floor plan, but.
So you said it at an angle. I was thinking at 90 degrees to what we see here. If you parked at an angle or 90 degrees, how many parking spaces would you have?
3. We cannot get under there turning 90 degrees and safely get the cars back out. There's just not enough width there. The width of the building, I think it's 45 feet from right to left. And so once you back out the stairway, the additional egress path, we just simply don't have enough room left over. Yes.
Thank you. My other question is, does this building have a setback?
No. So here's the proposed building, what it'll look like, a color rendition. Here's another view of it. This kind of shows the 4-story addition. This is the building we're looking at. In relative, there is another building close by that has a 4-story that hides all the mechanical. This will hold all the mechanical equipment, including the elevator shaft, and everything will be incorporated into that building. So it does screen all the mechanical, which is required with the SUP. And here's another view looking from the street side, what it could look like having the 4-story up there with it set back. Again, we have the 4 compatibility review criteria that we look at for an SUP. So this was all reviewed by our Prescott Preservation Commission and our Planning and Zoning Commission. So at the September 12th, 2025 Prescott Preservation Commission meeting, they did a courtesy review. They did vote recommended approval 3-2 with the suggested condition that the applicant shall submit exterior building materials for review and approval by the historic preservation specialist prior to building permit approval. Then at the September 25th, 2025 Planning and Zoning Commission, they also recommended approval 7-0 with the same condition about the applicant submit the exterior building materials for review by the preservation specialist. And that concludes my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions you have.
Councilman Gamboa, did you have another question? No?
I'm sorry.
Councilwoman Furworth?
Thank you. Tammy, I'm just trying to understand the term suggested condition. Isn't it just with a condition? Or is there a term suggested?
Well, at the time when we put this in was a suggested condition, but it has been recommended by both the PPC and the Planning and Zoning Commission to have that condition.
That condition in place?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mayor. Tammy, does this also fall in the entertainment zone, the overlay? That section of Cortez?
I believe all downtown business does fall
Okay.
into it, but that's just for liquor licenses, my understanding.
But so the parking part of it also, they were not required to provide the parking?
Per our land development code, because it's pre-1968, we do not require parking on the historic buildings so they stay.
Do you know exactly what year that building was built?
Before 1900.
Like
1880, 1890, something like that, yeah.
Okay.
All the addresses I always saw at the top was said 1900, but I know it was built prior to that.
So we've been talking about the hotel on Whiskey Row, and we've required them to put a cover over their patio. This falls out of that designation in that area?
Those criteria does not apply to this building.
Okay, that's what I wanted to know. Thank you.
And then in the packet that I provided you from the from SHPO, when you do a rooftop addition similar to this, they do want to see it set back. So from the street view, it's not as visual.
Did any was any exception granted to them through the adaptive reuse changes?
No.
Okay, thank you.
Well, I had concerns about this when there were 6 parking spaces. Now there's only 3. So I don't know how you can move into an apartment and have no place to park your car, except you want to do the shuffle somewhere up or down Cortez Street or some other location. I just find this to be unacceptable for a residential occupation without any parking being provided, even though they're not required to. If it was built in 1890, I think it was probably a horse. So any other questions or concerns? Do we have any public comment on this?
We do, Mayor. Kathy Rusing.
I really like this project. I have been looking at this vacant building for, 30 years. I've been inside of it, and I want to thank the owner for taking on this project because it's takes a lot of structural engineering. And I also want to thank Jebco for doing such a great job. As walking down the street, you would never know that a major demolition was going on. I never saw heard any noise or anything. So they've been doing a great job. As far as parking, you can be creative. The owner can reach out to, for example, other property owners in the area and rent space in the building to the south, that kind of modern-looking building. There's an underground parking garage there. They may be able to rent space there, or from other owners in the area, and they can be creative and solve that problem. But all in all, I think this is a great project to keep our downtown from undergoing any, shall we say, urban decay. And I want to thank them for not wanting to tear it down also.
Ralph Hess.
Hello, Mayor and Council. I'm Ralph Hess. I live in Prescott. Question occurred to me as I was watching this. Is there a means by which a wheelchair-bound person would be able to get to and from the second, third, and penthouse floors?
That's all, Mayor.
Oh, the architect, I believe there is an elevator there, right? Yes, sir. Yeah. So that ADA access is available. All right, then I'll entertain a motion.
Mayor, I move to approve SUP 25-001 with conditions, the recommended conditions.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote.
Passes 4-1.
We'll move on to item 11B.
PLN 25-002, a preliminary plat for Lafferty Ranch, a 4-unit subdivision and tract for future apartments on an approximate 15.3 acre parcel, generally located on the north side of State Route 69 across from Costco, zoning RE2 rural estate 2 acre and MFM multifamily medium density, location APN 103-20-008C and D, property owner 3910-5 LLC, applicant Kelly Wise Engineering.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, and council members. Jacob Lund, Assistant Planner for the City of Prescott. Today I will be presenting PLN 25-002, preliminary plat for the Lafferty Ranch. So this preliminary plat will consist of 4 residential units and a tract for a future 82-unit apartment complex on an approximately 15.3 acre parcel. This is a zoning map showing the subject parcels for both the preliminary plat and the parcel to the south, which this is where the future apartment complex will be. The parcel for the preliminary plat today is zoned RE2 acre, which will require lot sizes to be a minimum of 2 acres in size. And the parcel to the south, closer to SR 69, was rezoned from RE2 acre to multifamily medium back in October of 2024. This is additional imagery of the site in question. As you can kind of see, there is some preliminary grading. This will be the tract where you'll receive access off of 69 into the subdivision through the apartment complex. This is the preliminary plat that was provided by the applicant, and it shows how they intend to divide this parcel into 4 separate units, or 4 separate lots, pardon me. You'll see lot 1, 2, 3, and 4 all are 2 acres or more. Lots 2, 3, and 4 do contain restrictive building envelopes. However, the only restrictive building envelope that was required due to hillside development standards is going to be on lot 2. So the restrictive building envelope is required on that lot because the average slope of the lot exceeds 20%. The applicant did work with us to rearrange the restrictive building envelope, so this is the location that they came up with. With that said, additionally, there will be access to the site. This shows a better representation of Tract A, where you'll be coming in and out through an ingress-egress easement and public utility easement that's going to be 50 feet wide. And then as mentioned earlier, Tract A was approved part of the rezone REZ 24-005, which did receive unanimous city council approval on October 22nd, 2024, and that created ordinance number 2024-1876. Oops. This is a slope analysis that was provided by the applicant when we determined the slope exceeding 20% on lot 2. As you can see from the table below, in the bottom corner, anything in green represents slopes from 0 to 20%. Anything in blue represents slopes from 20 to 30%. Anything in yellow represents slopes from 30 to 40. And then everything in red is your very sloped areas, 40 to 100% slope. With that, this is what triggered the restrictive building envelope on this particular lot. Like I mentioned earlier, the applicant did work with us to rearrange the building envelope so that it could be placed in an area of slopes between 0 to 30% to meet the hillside development criteria per the Land Development Code. This is in order to protect the hillside areas for this particular development. Staff has 7 issues for consideration when we are looking at preliminary plats. I won't go into all the details on all 7 here. We did provide a full analysis in the staff memo, but I am going to touch on number 3 and 5. Number 3 is related to the physical arrangement of the subdivision. So the proposed subdivision has supplied all of the required information and made required changes to the layout of lots and easements for utilities. At this time, there's no changes requested by staff. And number 5 is related to compliance of the streets and thoroughfares with the adopted plans and the existing street patterns. Access to the residential lots is going to be through the tract along State Route 69 through the ingress-egress easement, which the applicant has also worked with our Public Works Department, Fire Department in regards to the size of the easement and utilities, trash, and fire turnarounds. With that being said, all other issues for consideration with this particular preliminary plat meet all code requirements and preliminary plat requirements, and we have no required changes to the layout as presented.
Jacob, is there more than one ingress-egress route?
I believe with the apartments, they are going to be having a emergency egress that will lead to Yavapai Hills. I would defer that to the applicant just for clarification. I believe they are here. I think Gary Kelly's back there.
Well, come on up and answer that question.
Mayor and Council, Gary Kelly, Kellywise Engineering. There's an egress that goes from just north of the proposed apartment project. There, it's shown there on the right, and it comes out at Butterfly. And that's where the 12-inch water main's being installed. So it's a maintenance road for the water main, but it's an egress in an emergency situation. It won't be, it's going to be gated. It's not going to be traversable other than emergency only.
So does that go into Diamond Valley, or where does it?
Comes out into Yavapai Hills. Yavapai Hills Unit 2.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, I know where that is. Thank you.
Yep.
My follow-up question would be, talking about the same egress, now that it's, divided into 4 owner residences, is everyone going to be able to cross over into Lot 2 and get access to that emergency egress if necessary? Is that going to be a condition of that property, Lot 2? Yeah.
That easement goes all the way up to the turnaround on Lot 1, the Hammerhead turnaround, and it comes all the way through the apartment project. So it's a 50-foot roadway and public utility easement to the top. So lots 1 through 4 will be using that drive, and the apartments will stay south in that lower 5-acre parcel. But lots 1, 2, 3, 4 would be able to go south to Highway 69 or an emergency exit to Butterfly cul-de-sac.
Okay, we had the discussion when we were approving water and something else for the apartments, that Tract A, and of course the owner for all of the north of that was going to be, all of the owners, all the renters would be able to, if 69 was bumper to bumper, they were going to be able to go out the emergency egress. And now I just want to confirm, since it's changed and now we have 4 owners and a bunch of renters, will everyone still be able to go
Only
onto Lot A through the egress and get out if in case of an emergency where 69's bumper to bumper.
Yeah, if there was an emergency, anybody could use that.
So that would be
road to
something that would
Butterfly.
be in the deed or for whomever's owning Lot 2 that they understand it's
Yeah, it's on there
transferable.
with a proposed PUE, 20-foot PUE that can be modified to say 20-foot PUE and egress.
Okay, that would be great.
Okay.
Because I just worry about all these residents being with only one way onto 69 heading west when you want to be heading east. So, great. If you'll agree with that as part of the condition of how we do this. I don't know all the paperwork. Tammy's shaking her head, so she's got the ball. I understand. Great. Thank you.
All right. With that being said, the City of Prescott's Planning and Zoning Commission did recommend approval of PLN 25-002 unanimously by a vote of 7-0 on September 25th, 2025. And then that brings us to our action today. Staff recommends to move to approve PLN 25-002 for the preliminary plat for Lafferty Ranch. And that concludes my presentation. If you have any questions, I'm happy
Thank you,
to
Jacobs.
assist.
Any other questions or concerns from the council? Any public comment on this?
No, Mayor.
And I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve SUP 25-001.
02. PLN 25-002.
Oh, 02.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote.
Passes 5-0.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Jacob. We'll move on to item 11C.
Adoption of resolution number 2025-1951, GPA 25-001, and adoption of ordinance number 2025-1913, REZ 2005. An ordinance of the Mayor and Council of the City of Prescott, Yavapai County, Arizona, amending the zoning of certain property within the City of Prescott, generally located on the east side of Ruth Street, south side of West Hillside Avenue, west side of Dameron Drive, and north side of Brannan Avenue, from residential office, RO, and multifamily high density with manufactured home floating district, MFM, MH zoning districts to business regional BR zoning district.
Thank you. Good evening, Council. Mayor Pro Tem, Tammy DeWitt, Community Planner. This is a rezoning area of 3.282 acres and consists of 11 parcels. The current zoning is multifamily medium with a manufactured home overlay and a residential office RO. The proposed zoning is business regional to bring the property into current code zoning allowances. A majority of the property has been used by West Yavapai Guidance Clinic as a mental health and behavioral health treatment facility since 1966, and the other parcels are single-family residential use with no plans for a new use. So the use of the property as the mental health and behavioral health treatment facility has been a legal, non-conforming use on the property. So the property owners have been working on getting the property more in compliance. We did approve a revision to Plat to combine these parcels, which is still being worked, has been recorded at the county. And then they're working now on the rezoning to get the zoning in compliance. Here's an exhibit of the rezoning map of the area in question, which is the dark line here, outlining the rezone area. Here's a map of the area. Most of the property, it does comprise of Polaris Health. And then we have 3 parcels on here. Okay, there are 3 parcels on there. It's not working right now. That have single-family residential uses, and there's no change at this time to the uses of those parcels. They included them in the rezoning request without staff asking to do that, so that we don't have spot zoning in the middle of this area. That way, almost the whole block, but it's consistent to the adjacent zoning, so we don't have a few parcels there that are spot zoning. Oh, here we go. Now it's working. So these 2 parcels here and this parcel here are the single-family residential uses. And we do have the commercial here, the BR. We have BG to the north, and we have BG to the south, and we have industrial in this area over here, and the rest was manufacturer. Multifamily high density, and this RO here. So this is the area that's being rezoned at this time that's highlighted. And then here's imagery. Like I said, at this time, there's no proposed changes. I do understand the property is for sale. The applicant does have a separate presentation in regards to potential users or what their plans are for the property. This is an exhibit of the general plan amendment. This is also required as part of this request. We do have this area here that's highlighted that will need to be changed to commercial in order to allow to the rezoning. This portion here is already commercially designated, so it's okay as it is, but the request also includes a minor map amendment to the general plan land use map. These are the 3 lots that have the single-family residential uses. Like I said, there's no proposed changes. Residential is allowed in commercial zoning, so there'll still be legal uses of the property. Then the rest is the Polaris Health, which was West Yavapai Guidance Clinic. The buildings, like I said, at this time, there's no proposed changes to these buildings or the uses. City staff from various departments did review the project. They didn't see any concerns with the proposed zoning. We do have our issues for consideration from the Land Development Code. These were evaluated in your staff memo, and since there's no potential changes right now, we are just bringing the property into the current zoning allowance for the proposed use, the existing use of the building, and we're getting rid of the pre-existing legal non-conforming status. This also does include a minor general plan map amendment. The 2015 general plan designated this area for medium-high residential density. So we have this to change it to commercial for the rezoning request. Staff did say mailing to the property owners within 300 feet of the property, posted the property with 6 postings around the block, and we advertised in the local paper. We never received any comment from the public in regards to this request. And at the September 25th Planning and Zoning Commission meeting, they did recommend approval 7-0. And that concludes my presentation. I'm free to answer any questions you have. And like I said, the applicant has a separate presentation, if you like, that may answer some more questions that you may have.
Does the council have any questions or concerns? Is there a need to have the applicant's presentation, or do you have enough information? Do we have any public comment?
We do have 2 comment cards.
I'll hear that now.
David Farrow.
My name is David Firo. I am a resident of Prescott, 1430 St. Charles Avenue, and I'm also a member of the board of Polaris Health. I have been a resident of Prescott for 25 years. I came here to be chief of mental health for the VA hospital here in Prescott. I have worked for the Department of Veterans Affairs for 45 years, and I have worked closely with West Yavapai Guidance Clinic before it became Polara. We hospitalized VA patients there when we could not get them into Phoenix or Tucson inpatient facilities. I had good cooperation from West Yavapai Guidance Clinic leaders all those years. Therefore, when I had the opportunity to join the board, I was very happy to do so. I'm very much in support of Polara Health. You've probably noticed a number of new Polara facilities popping up around town. They are good-looking, well-designed, beautiful buildings. This is a very old building, and we're wanting to have our patients, our clients have dignity as they receive our services. The new facilities that you probably noticed are CSU down in Prescott Valley, where anybody can come in crisis and get help, regardless of their insurance. We reach out to the various different police, fire, and hospitals in order to provide care for those persons in crisis. I remember in the past when Yavapai Regional Medical Center had a rubber room for persons who had mental health crises instead of a good quality mental health facility. Not only the CSU, but then we have a number of new facilities that I'd like to briefly mention. We have the Healing Place, which was a failed mental health inpatient facility that Polara took over and now is a very, very nice facility for persons with mental health problems and is currently nearly always full with providing local care for persons with mental health problems that require inpatient. We are also operating substance abuse facilities at the Hillside location at the present time, but we are looking to move those to Sandretto, new location. You could probably see the sign there. We're planning to open that very, very soon. We have outpatient facilities in Prescott Valley, Chino, and Campo Verde, and soon in Cottonwood. All of this is possible because we are good stewards of our locations. We are looking to sell this facility so that we can build better facilities for mental health in the Yavapai County area. I urge you to consider this. We're going to have some difficult times in the near future with Medicaid being drastically cut back. Much of our patient care is supported by access or Medicaid. And so having the possibility to utilize the funds from this sale are very important to us. Any questions? Thank you.
Stephen Polk.
Hello, my name is Stephen Polk, Prescott resident, 125 North Granite Street. I volunteer on the board of directors as well. I'm the chairman for Polara Health. Also here today we have the chief operating officer for Polara, Devin Bell, and Brian Fuller, who also is on the Polara board. We do have a presentation that explains who we are, what we do in general, and also some more specifics on the property, but really we're available to answer any questions we need to. We're selling this building, and we're going to take those resources to reinvest in our community. Thank you.
Do we have any other questions or concerns? Well, I think having a kind of a uniform zoning is appropriate. We don't like to have spot zoning. And whatever the future use of this particular property is, I think is secondary to the uniform zoning that is justified in that area. So at this point, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve resolution number 2025-1951.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote.
Passes 5-0.
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve ordinance number 2025-1913.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote.
Passes 5-0.
I think that's all on this one, right?
It is. Our next item is 11D, adoption of ordinance number 2025-1906, an ordinance of the mayor and council of the city of Prescott, Yavapai County, Arizona, approving city contract number 2026-100, a purchase agreement between the city of Prescott and Yavapai County, and subsequently authorizing the purchase of approximately 7.483 plus or minus acres of real property located at a portion of APN number 105-06-005D.
Good afternoon, Mayor Good, members of council, Brian Sparks, real estate administrator. I think this is the first project that's going to be brought before the city under Proposition 478, which was our special transaction privilege tax that was approved by the Prescott voters last year. As you can see on the enclosed map, we formed a team early this year to find a suitable location for our new police evidence and substation facility. And the team consisted of members of the Public Works Department, members of police, myself, and we looked at several variations on what was going to be needed for this facility. We needed a lot of certain dimension that would, the police evidence facility we're looking at is probably going to be well over 20,000 square feet. And so that limited the locations where we could go, but when we looked at all of the available locations, we kept circling back to this one, which you can see is right across from the Yavapai County Criminal Justice Center. The property consists of just under 7.5 acres and is currently owned by Yavapai County. We have, once we narrowed it down to this site, we started a dialogue with Yavapai County with our good friend Tyler Goodman, our former deputy city manager. And this has been approved by the County Board of Supervisors. So now we're bringing it to this body for you guys to take a look at and see what you think about it. So as you can see, the location, the proximity along a major thoroughfare in Prescott Lakes Parkway, right across from the Criminal Justice Center. And the size is sufficient for both the current needs of the police department and possible future needs. The entire site encompasses just under 16, well, actually a little bit over 16 acres, and we will be granted a first right of refusal on the remaining acreage, though we don't know if that'll ever be needed or not. This also has very good proximity for the police department to downtown and to both Highway 89 and 69. I don't know if we had the second one in there. I guess we did not. As mentioned, this has been approved by Yavapai County, and I'm not going to get into too many specifics about the construction. If you have any of those questions, police and Public Works will be coming up after me. But this is the presentation that we have for the purchase. There was a joint appraisal that was done on the property by BBG Appraisals out of Phoenix. The value came in at $1,550,000, which we've agreed to with the county. Cost of the appraisal was split between the two agencies. And that's about it. I'll entertain any questions you might have.
You know, Brian, I was looking at that appraisal report from BBG, and in 3 different parts of that appraisal, it mentions that the city of Phoenix signed a letter of intent to purchase this property in July. Is that a typo, or is that correct?
That was a typo, Mr. Mayor.
Okay.
I don't think Phoenix wants to come up this far north.
Yeah, what are they doing sneaking in and trying to get our evidence facility here? Okay, well, that's good to know. Mayor Pro Tem?
Thank you, Mayor. Brian, I've got a couple questions. So out of the 16 acres, how many of those acres are buildable?
Well, I mean, quite a bit of it. It is on a hillside, so there is limitations from the slope, but we feel like we can get beyond those. The design team and the team that the capital projects manager has looked at that. We have a rudimentary layout showing it will be a terraced type structure with parking towards the top, buildings, but again, this will grant them room for greater expansion. We're going to use up probably about 5 acres of the available 7.5 right now, just in this construction. And then again, that will leave room for some future expansion.
Are you still in your inspection period with that contract?
We have not entered into the contract yet. That's subject to the council's approval.
And then one last thing, will you, before you close this contract, during your inspection period, will you be performing a soils test on that? Because I went by there and I was really worried about the lot prep in order to make it buildable can far exceed the construction of the property. So I just want to make sure everybody's aware of that, and that needs to be taken into account by a contractor, I believe.
Okay.
A hard dig, if you know what that is, can make or break a project. So I was really worried about the fact that we were paying retail for 16 acres and we're only going to be able to use part of it.
So you're talking like a geotech boring or
Absolutely.
something like that?
I think that needs to be done before we do anything else. Just my opinion.
That would be more of a question for the capital
Okay.
projects team, and they're going to be coming up right after me.
Great. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I certainly agree with that. There's been a number of proposed projects that once they get into the underground and see how difficult it is to prepare a building site, the cost can be just almost astronomical. And of course, we would want to own the slope behind the building so that we could maintain it and make sure that it doesn't contribute to flooding or other problems, that we would at least be able to have the control of it. Any other questions or concerns? Do we have any public comment on this?
We do. Carter Labarge.
Mr. Mayor, Council, my name is Carter Labarge, and as you discovered, sir, and identified, I also was thoughtful about the fact that when a document is brought to this council by staff and it's clearly cut and paste by BBG out of Phoenix, there's 4 different areas where Phoenix is referenced and some additional comments. Wouldn't it be appropriate that our staff finds these before they submit them to the council? I would think so. And if we don't find them, and you have to find them or someone from the residents, I don't know that the due diligence has been done, nor the homework, before we bring them to the council. That's all I have to say. Thank you, sir.
That's all, Mayor.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Yes, we were going to hear from the engineer, or who are you coming up next with?
Well, actually, they're bringing the design contract to you right after this.
Okay.
So you would have an opportunity, unless you want to ask Tim those questions now.
Yeah, but I'm confused about the project. I don't know how it all laid out and how you ended up looking there. I know you mentioned just now in your presentation that you would look at a bunch of different properties. But I'm very concerned about spending that kind of money on that property and not establishing whether it's a hard dig or not, and how many buildable acres. We're paying retail for 16 acres that we're not going to be able to use all that acreage. Did anybody ever discuss maybe just buying partial, just the buildable area from the county instead of the whole 16 acres?
Well, we are only buying a portion of it. We're not buying the entire lot. We're buying 7.5 acres of the 16 acres.
Right, but was there any reduction? I mean, anybody negotiated a reduction in price because of that?
The appraisal on the entire parcel came in at $3.5 million.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
If there are no other comments or concerns or no other public comment, then I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve City Contract 2026-099.
Councilman Gambogi, it's actually adoption of ordinance number 2025-1906. I need a new motion from you, is what I was saying.
I'm going to give you a new motion.
Thank you.
I move to approve ordinance number 2025-1906, approving City Contract 2025-100.
I'll second Ted's fantastic motion.
Very well. We have a motion and a second. Please vote.
Passes 5-0. All right, item 11E, approval of city contract number 2026-099 with Arrington Watkins Architects for design services for the police substation and property evidence facility project.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. Tim Sherwood, Public Works. Brian's map was way better than mine. But as Brian alluded to, this is a design services contract for the new police substation and property evidence facility. City staff advertised for a statement of qualifications back in the first week of June. We held a mandatory pre-proposal conference on June 16th, and statement of qualifications were opened up on July 10th. Some of the evaluation criteria we had in the request was experience and capabilities performing design services for projects of this type. So these are firms that submitted are familiar with police evidence storage stations, jails, et cetera. Also experience of firms, personnel, and sub-consultants for projects of this type, and also observation of existing conditions and grasp of key project elements. City received 6 statement of qualifications on June 10th, as I mentioned. A 5-member review committee was put together. That was 3 staff members and 2 PD members. The evaluation process consisted of the statement of qualification review and rankings. We ranked 5 firms total. One of the submittals that was given to us was non-compliant, so that we had to reject that submittal. 3 firms were selected for interviews, and we conducted those interviews on August 13th, 2025. The review committee ranked and unanimously selected Arrington Watkins Architects for this project. Scope and fee negotiations were initiated, and a final scope and fee was approved on September 30th of 2025. Public Works is recommending award of a contract to Arrington Watkins Architects out of Phoenix for $1,959,533. Funding for the project is budgeted in FY26 in the general fund, and the funding source is the dedicated sales tax established by voter approval Proposition 478. And with that, I will be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Well, I don't know about you, but I think that's a pretty darn big number.
Yes, sir.
So can you give us a little more detail on the scope of what's going to be done for $1.959 million?
Well, if you in the council packet, there's a pretty detailed explanation, and Chief Bonnie is here too to help out. As far as the different elements that are going to be done here, this is going to be a multi-use facility. It'll be evidence and storage. There's canine, so room for all the new personnel that has to go in there and everything else. So like I said, it's going to be it's going to be more like a campus than just a single type building.
Yeah, I think there's going to be a clean room there too as well.
Share the mic with you?
Absolutely.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah, we really are excited to really kick off the beginnings of Prop 478 and what that promise means for the future of our city and our public safety services. And I agree, that is a very large number. But what that means for us is really the opportunity to look into our future and design this project and this facility with our future in mind. And I keep trying to frame our discussions with the understanding that we're not building it for 10 years or 20 years. We're really building it probably for 40, 30, 40 years out, and trying to, as much as we can, have a crystal ball about what we think we need into the future. And so what we're looking at doing with this facility is focusing, yes, on property and evidence and building it bigger than we think we need right now so that we have the capacity in the future, and thinking about what kinds of things we're going to need in a building like that in the future, and things that we can't even imagine right now. And I'll give you an example of that. When I started in this career 27 years ago, I couldn't have imagined that we would need to have giant cell lockers to maintain hundreds of cell phones or dozens of cell phones plugged in to be able to keep people from accessing them remotely, but we need that now. I can't imagine what kind of technology is going to progress 10, 15, 20 years from now. So trying to envision that, and then imagining what our downtown is going to look like as we grow. We talked about those positions that we're adding to our police department with the 478 funding, and really looking at improving our response times, as we talked about, and growing our community services and traffic safety sections to enhance those response times. So probably moving some of our teams out of our downtown location, which we know is incredibly pinched for space. We don't have any more space in our downtown location. We have turned every closet into an office. Literally every single closet that was a closet is now somebody's office. And so looking at where we can optimize our space in our downtown building, but also grow and expand our operations with the most efficiency, being the most fiscally responsible we can with that money from 478, and really designing this with the future in mind so that we can not only build for today, but also for tomorrow.
Well, I just want to emphasize the fact that this is a climate-controlled evidence storage facility. I know there's been cases where familial DNA analysis has allowed some cold serial killer cases to be identified decades after the event happened. But they still had the ability to recover some DNA from the crime scenes because they were properly stored. So even that type of familial DNA analysis is relatively new technology. So being able to keep maybe a bloodstained mattress or something like that stored for decades properly under climate control conditions would allow some of those future investigative techniques to be able to be utilized to solve some of these serious crimes.
Absolutely. And as I mentioned too, just the downtown location, we are out of parking for our vehicles. We know that the old City Hall is being redeveloped into a beautiful hotel, which we welcome, but we don't have any more space for vehicles to be parked there. And so, we're looking at maybe moving some of our, we talked about the canines, animal control. We have so many different pieces of our police department that are parsed out in different areas of our community. A great example of that is our traffic safety section, which took over part of a building from our ComDev team, and they really want that space back. So we would like to give them that space back and put our traffic safety section in an area in that location that really puts them kind of at a hub where they can respond to high traffic areas to be a little bit more efficient and a lot more effective.
Well, thank you for that. I think the public needs to know exactly how extensive and detailed and technology corrected and climate controlled this facility needs to be. And consequently, it takes a very capable designer to be able to analyze this and put it in a position where we can acquire it, build it, and operate it.
Yeah, and I mean, since I have the opportunity, you guys know if you give me a microphone, I'm going to use it. We are really trying to be as diligent as we can and making sure that we are being as responsible as we can with this money and doing just right by our community because they put so much trust in us and we're so thankful for that. And so we're visiting property and evidence facilities across the state and seeing what works and what doesn't work and speaking with police chiefs and the people that utilize these facilities every day and learning from them and really going to put in the very best practices to make it a safe facility for our employees and our team members, make it someplace that they want to to work that's healthy and safe for them, and that is an efficient and usable facility as well. So we're taking advantage of this, and we really appreciate it.
Thank you, Chief. Mayor Pro Tem, you had a question?
Yes, I do. And I'm going to follow up exactly what you just said, Chief. In the spirit of trying to protect every single dollar, I want to explore this a little bit. So in the committee, you said we had, not you, I'm sorry, Tim, and then I'll get back to Chief Bonnie, but we had 3 staff members and 2 people from PD to make the decision. In the staff member part of it, was somebody in there, a contractor, a licensed engineer, anybody that had some deep knowledge of construction? And the reason I ask you that, and I hate to keep driving this home, but honestly, if you get a position, if you were to build that, exactly what you just said, I'm 100% supportive of you, you know that. I worked my butt off to get the 478 passed. I want everything to go well. But the reality of this is, if that is a hard dig on that lot, you're going to eat up anywhere from $2 to $5 million in order just to prep the lot to build that building that you need. And I hate to see you waste that when you can buy a piece of property that's flat and buildable. It's a huge difference. And I'd like to know that, if we can, going into this in some way. So the qualified people that you're recommending, did they do a soils test? Is that anywhere in consideration today?
That will be part of the design. That was part of one of the criteria I mentioned observation of existing conditions. So
but what happens hypothetically if they come back and go, oops, yep, it's solid granite, you're going to have a hard dig. We can't get out of that property at that point, can we?
We have a really good idea what's going on in that property based on
Okay.
the cut slope that's adjacent to Prescott Lakes Parkway. It's pretty well exposed there.
Yeah.
And knowing the kind of the geology of the area, I don't anticipate anything being remotely what we consider a hard dig, which would require blasting or some other rock type excavation. There may be some harder soils there, but I wouldn't anticipate anything that's going to be something that would just basically shut this project down.
Okay, well, just so long as you have looked into it, I mean, I think the design, it sounds beautiful. Want to support everything. I just hate to see us there's an example right up here where they took the mountain top off. He's out of Phoenix. He'd never had an idea that was a hard dig. They've been digging for 2 years. I mean, we don't want to get into that. So I just want to make sure everybody's aware, because that could eat our budget up overnight. Okay, thank you.
Very good. Any other comments or concerns? Do we have any public comment?
We do not.
Then I'll entertain a motion.
Here we go. Mr. Mayor, I move to approve city contract number 2026-099.
Second.
But that was an easy one, huh, Ted? We have a motion and a second. Please vote.
Passes 5-0.
All right, we move on to item 11F.
Public hearing number 2 in accordance with resolution number 2024-1876 regarding 15% alternative design concept plans for the effluent and wastewater pipeline and SR 89 improvements.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. Gwen Rowich, Public Works Director. So since the last time we talked about this project, the city held an open house at the Adult Center on October the 1st. It was well attended. Over 130 people came and signed in. We also received 38 additional public comments from that event. Today is the second of 2 public hearings under Resolution 2024-1876. Staff does not have a presentation for you today, as today is scheduled as a public hearing.
Well, being a public hearing, then I guess we're going to be hearing from the public. Do we have some public comment?
We do. Kathy Rusing?
Thank you. I'm going to ask that this project, which is on the November 18th agenda for approval, the CMAR, be removed from the agenda because it is not ready to be voted on. There's so many questions about this project. The public is, 70% of the public is against the widening. There's so many questions about what infrastructure is going in underneath as far as the effluent pipes. There's 3 planned effluent pipes, and this is part of what's called the centralization project, which is shutting down Sundog and moving everything out to the airport. This project, centralization project, was voted on in 2015 by the City Council. Phase 1 has proceeded, Phase 2 has proceeded, and now we're entering into Phase 3. Nobody knows about it. Has anyone seen the master plan that was produced by Black and VTech back in 2010? Have we ever discussed centralization? I've been on council for 6 years. I've heard about it. I was the chair of the Water Issue Subcommittee. This plan has never been discussed publicly, any input. Even now, when they're talking about actually approving it, they still can't agree on how wide, how big the pipeline, the sewer main should be. You know, sometimes it's 36 inches and then it goes to 24 inches. And the problem is if you put in a 24-inch pipe as it heads north, it connects to an 18-inch pipe out there by Walden Farms and the Key Keffer pipe. And then where does that go? To me, it sounds like a really bad idea to plan on connecting a 24-inch pipe to an 18-inch pipe. There's so many questions. Number one, why is this done without any transparency? And there are concerns that this is a kind of a plan to thwart our charter, Prop 401, which places a limit on how much these projects can cost without going to voter approval. And I think our city attorney should make a few comments about that because the public is very concerned. For example, this plan, their long-term plan is to increase the capacity of the airport wastewater treatment plant from 4.75 million gallons per day, which is what's permitted. That was the last expansion in 2014, to 15 million gallons per day. Do we know how much that's going to cost? So I think we need to back up, get some more information, and take this off of the agenda for November 18th, and not vote on this 5 minutes before the new council and mayor are seated. So I'm very concerned about this. Another example I have is Phase 2. There was a CMAR that was passed. Originally, it was $300,000 with fan construction, and there was an amended change order for almost $36 million. Now that's quite a change order. I have the actual paperwork right here if anybody wants to see it. So that's an example of how this project has been funded. It's been funded by WIFA, but I have a lot of concerns, especially with the lack of transparency and the fact that council really had no idea what's going on with this centralization project. Thank you.
Carter Labarge.
Mr. Mayor, Council, I'm Carter Labarge. Thank you for a final opportunity to try and convince this council to take a step back and reconsider all of the data. Please reconsider the data. The citizens, we have projected that the data that you're using is bad. It's false data. And if you do the analysis, I think that you'll come to that conclusion yourselves. So please, this whole thing was based on safety to begin with. That was our first premise when we started this 3 years ago. And I keep going back to that safety. If you go to the virtual project meeting room There's a station there with a traffic report and crash data that was built by the city with city engineering data. In the traffic report on pages 31 of 161, it states that there were 117 crashes within the study limits between Pippin and Willow Lake Road during the 5 years, 2019 to 2023. In the August 26 study session, when Mrs. Roach slides 44 and 45 out of 51, she shows crashes associated with Willow Lake Roundabout were 52, and for the same period, there were 11 crashes associated with Pippin Roundabout for a total of 63. And these crashes are all in the roundabouts, and only 54 of the 117 crashes were along the rest of the straightaway through the Narrows. So you've got a preponderance of the crashes happening inside the roundabouts. And if we multiply that by 2 more roundabouts, we're going to be creating an opportunity to double the amount of crashes that we've had. So if you've got the 54 crashes, that comes out to about 10 crashes a year. If you add the 2 additional roundabouts, we're going to double the accidents that we've got going on in this city. Now, just for consideration, what happens if we have a fatality in one of those roundabouts? And then their lawyers get involved and we find out that, well, the city has proposed and increased the opportunity to double the amount of accidents that we've had over a period of time. I don't know that we really need to go down that road. In the interim, please consider, let's add 2 smart streetlights inside the Narrows, and that should take care of a lot of the difficulties. And then let's expedite the effluent and wastewater lines. Those we have to have. Let's separate them where they need to be and get that work done properly. And then that takes us to an additional note. Do we really believe that the engineering that we've been told so far has got the correct line size for these sewer lines? We know we've got to have the new pipelines, but we're questioning, and I think if you look at it, you're questioning whether the lines that we have been told are really what we need. You're getting ready to rubber stamp the approval of the line sizes that we may not be adequate to fix the problem. And if we're going to disconnect from Prescott Lakes Parkway and move everything out to the airport, let's put it all into one package and make certain that we have the right pipe sizing that we're doing. Please. Thank you very much, and I appreciate the opportunity.
Mike Kofi.
Well, I was going to say good afternoon, but maybe I should say good evening. I would like to talk about necessity and urgency. Resolving the effluent pipeline is both necessary and it's urgent. Widening is a different matter. Its necessity is questionable, and there is no urgency. Widening is a $20 million discretionary spending choice. The necessity to widen, to increase traffic capacity, is grounded in our ability to predict the traffic behavior for the next 5 to 10 years. 2 ways to make that prediction. One is to look back at the recent traffic counts and to make those increases and take those increases as gospel for the future. Take a napkin and a ballpoint pen and you've got your prediction. And that is essentially what Kimley Horn did. Another way, and the city staff planned for this, is to understand what the present traffic is about and then analyze what change might be in the future. Origin and destination analysis using cell phone data can provide highly detailed insights into trip patterns by capturing the actual endpoints of vehicle journeys and the time of day. With this analysis, along with city expertise in planning and economic development, you can start to stitch together a realistic picture of how the future will shape the traffic. You want to know, for example, the impact of YRMC's plans for its 200-acre airport site, Or what about the Chino shoppers currently going to Costco, Walmart, and Home Depot when similar stores open in the 2 million square foot Deep Well retail complex? Let's take one little easy example. Costco stores average over 4,000 daily shoppers. Perhaps ours has just 3,600. Imagine a third come from Central Prescott, a third come from PV, and a third from the north. That's 1,200 shoppers using 89 for a daily to and from traffic count of 2,400. Just one Sam's Club at Deep Well would eliminate over 10% of the current traffic through the Narrows, one store. Or it could negate 4 years' worth of their projected traffic growth. The city wisely specified a sophisticated origin and destination analysis be done. It was in the scope of work. It required a minimum of 4 week-long study periods. With this, we could have had a serious data basis for projection.
You have 30 more seconds.
Thank you. But Kimberly Horn did not do this. So you are left with a back of the napkin data to justify the necessity of spending $20 million. It's not good enough. Thank you.
Michael Marchand.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Council, and staff. The results are in and the public has spoken. I've analyzed all 429 comments. 62% oppose widening, 31% support widening, and 7% are neutral. No matter how you slice it, it's a landslide for no widening. But just in case the city staff haven't provided you with a thorough analysis yet, it's in your packet. Now let's talk about costs. I've painstakingly reviewed all 60 lines of the city's cost estimates for 2A, 2B, 2C, 3B, and 5B, and there are serious and embarrassing omissions. First, the cost for roundabouts is missing, underestimating the cost by up to $10.7 million. How do I know this? Alternatives 2A, B, and C have similar costs, yet they have 1, 2, and 0 roundabouts respectively. Option 2 costs should vary up to $6.6 million due to roundabouts, but they don't. Also, there are missing roundabout line items, specifically Central Island with landscaping and irrigation, truck apron, up to 1,000 feet of new curbing, roundabout-specific signage, illumination, and more. Second, rock removal volumes and unit costs need review, and the cost may be underestimated as much as $6.8 million. Third, some unit costs vary dramatically between alternatives without explanation. A review is needed. Fourth, road construction costs may be underestimated by up to $6.5 million for alternative 3B and likely 5B. With this said, the cost for alternative 3B could grow from $37 million to up to $61 million. The details are in the handout you have. Before voting, the public deserves an all-in cost estimate that includes reviewed construction costs plus any contractor markups per the CMAR, design services to 100%, contingencies, option 1 cost, those universal safety improvements, permits and studies, tax and tip. Hey, maybe I'm wrong. Independent reviewers can determine if I'm wrong or if an above average analyst can find things that no one else could. And speaking of choosing independent reviewers, they need to be totally independent of Kimberly Horn, the city staff, local contractors, and any corporate buddies having absolutely nothing to do with this project or the parties involved. Trust me, it can be done. Finally, here's the bottom line. If the costs become meaningfully higher, or if you don't know the all-in cost, then it's a big red flag that the council is not ready for a vote, period. Thank you for your time.
Deb Thalassides.
Good afternoon, Council. Deb Thalassides, Prescott. I got kind of fascinated by this project because all the focus has been on the road, as you just heard. And I got interested in the wastewater piece because that's the reason for this project, what's under the ground. So I started researching it, and I found out that this is part of the centralization plan. And throughout the years, if you look at capital budgets, you'll see projects labeled centralization plan, blah, 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 whatever the project is. But the reality is, as Mayor-elect Rusing said, is there has been no public discussion or council discussion of the entire centralization plan since 2015. And at that time, the council was told the cost of it would be between 45 and 52 million. Now, we all know costs have gone up in 10 years. But when I looked at the list the staff had at the open house for centralization projects, as well as all of the ones that weren't on that list but were still labeled centralization, we're looking at costs of pushing 200 million. That is more money than this city's probably ever spent on any project. I'm not saying the project's wrong. I'm not saying it shouldn't be done. I'm saying that we haven't had transparency. So if you look at our sewer rates, they reflect this. In 2023, the rates increased by 14.2%. In 2024, they were 18%. This year, we had a 17% increase, and then we've got 8% built in the out years until 2029 when there's another rate study. These increases are needed because we're borrowing money from WIFA to do these projects, because we don't have 200 million sitting around, or I'm sure we're not at that point yet, but we could potentially be in the future. So what I'm asking is that you delay this project for all the reasons that everyone else has stated. There's a lot of information that's conflicting or missing, but most importantly, I think you need an independent engineering financial consulting firm, and by independent, I'm going by Mike's definition, to look at what we're projected to spend now, 10 years later, what we have already spent, what projects are still in the pipeline, no pun intended, and whether we've got a 401 problem. And the transparency is worth doing this. We proved that with 478. When the city needs something, the voters respond positively. And I think we're at a point with this where there's enough questions that if you don't do this, I hope the next council will consider looking at some kind of independent evaluation before you move forward. One last point. If you vote in favor of the CMAR on November 18th, you've obligated yourself or the next council to do a WIFA bond because you'll be entering into a contract and you're going to owe money to that contractor. Thank you.
Bonnie McMinn.
I have to raise the microphone. Good afternoon, Mayor, Council, fellow residents, Bonnie McMinn. After the city survey showed that 85% of residents opposed widening of SR 89, the citizens brought forward Resolution 2024-1876 to ensure transparency, accountability, and a clear process before any vote. That resolution required a 60-day public comment period to begin only after completion of the 15% design concept plans and the design concept report, including traffic data and alternatives to a 5-lane road. The drawings were released But without the report that explains them, they're incomplete and of little use to the public or council. Yet on July 8th, the city announced the comment period without that report. The 15% design report still has not been made public, even after multiple records requests, including one just last week, when we were told it would be released on October 21st, just 1 week before your scheduled vote on October 28th for the design contract. We've spent nearly a year and about $1 million, but the public has not seen what we've paid for. This project isn't ready for a vote. Meanwhile, the effluent pipe that this project was meant to fix leaked on October 11th. That failure shows that urgent infrastructure need remains unresolved. We're debating about roundabouts and future capacity when what's under the ground is failing. And that raises a deeper concern. Do we even know what's underground, as you've heard others mention? The city documents mention a new gravity sewer, a second effluent pipe, but there's no clear design or explanation of how or even if this ties into the centralization project. The result is confusion, not just about the process, but about the project itself. We've had the 2 study sessions, one before materials were available. Today's hearing comes after the public comment period closed, but without a summary from the city of the comments. That's not process, that's a process out of sequence, out of compliance, and far from transparent. The city's capital improvement program, Step 3, calls for reviewing existing infrastructure before expansion. If that review occurred, neither council nor the public has seen that report. Advancing now ignores both the process and the citizens' resolution. The traffic study relied on one single day of traffic counts, and the public's been commenting on a widened road and roundabouts instead of safety improvements in the failing pipe this project was meant to address. Can council move forward with 100% design when the 15% design report still has not been made public, and the pipe that it's meant to replace has just failed again? The process never began, the record remains incomplete, and the key data is still missing. Respectfully, please pause this vote. Fix the pipe, release the report, restore the process, so this council's legacy is one of facts, accountability, and respect for the community it deserves. Thank you.
Jim Gehring.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, and Council. I'm Jim Gehring. I live in Prescott Lakes, Prescott. Let me raise something that you haven't heard about, SIMPO. The SIMPO Regional Transportation Plan, taking us to 2050, rates widening the 89 through the Dells as a medium priority project, meaning, according to SIMPO, capacity improvements on 89 through the Dells need to be made between 2041 and 2050, 16 to 25 years from now. It does not seem, at least according to SIMPO, that there's a rush to improve traffic capacity through this section of Highway 89. Now let's jump to the Kimley-Horn traffic impact analysis, which is in the virtual meeting room. And you'd be surprised. Their number one recommendation in section 7.4, the first recommendation, is to implement alternative 2B. That's the non-widening alternative with safety improvements. Now, it does include 2 one-lane roundabouts, but when you examine further their report, you'll find that the side traffic at those 2 one-lane roundabouts is very, very low, and it's very hard to justify those 2 one-lane roundabouts unless you plan to develop that area. Kimley-Horn further said that you should implement 2B, see how it works, and then further analyze 5B and 3B, the widening options. Kimley Horn thought that capacity improvements in this area of Highway 89 would be needed by 2034. That's 8.5 or 9 years from now. So between those two reports, it does not appear that there's any urgency to get in there and widen Highway 89. But this project is also intertwined with centralization. You heard what Deb Thalassides said. We added up centralization projects to about 200 million. The Proposition 401 spending limit, if you adjust it for inflation as indicated by the proposition, is about 63 million. So it certainly looks to me like we are likely busting or will bust Proposition 401. So in my view, the city needs an independent accounting of centralization from start to finish. All those projects that have been finished, including design, construction management, construction change orders, and then all those projects that remain in the future, including those and accept change orders contingency. So there isn't any risk to waiting and reconsidering what's going on and figuring out where we are related to Proposition 401. Thank you.
Ruth Ann Norris.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Council, staff, my fellow residents. Happy to be here again to address you on this issue. I'm a Prescott resident, and I should say I am also a member of the Board of Directors of the Granite Dells Preservation Foundation. Like many other speakers, I'd like you to pause any action on this plan. And I want to say that I know that's hard, because I imagine you are all feeling this tremendous pressure from staff, from your consultant. The city has just put too much into it to stop now. But that is known as the stuck cost fallacy. So take a minute. Today's Courier has a story. Leak detected in effluent water line along Highway 89. Well, this time it's in one of the roundabouts. And we've talked about this previously, that the scope of the widening project does not include the roundabouts. And I think that is a serious elimination. As other speakers have said, the roundabouts are a cause of the crashes. Why are we going to do a whole traffic thing, spend millions of dollars, and the primary problems are not even included in the scope of the project? I don't fault the consultant for that. The roundabouts were not included in the scope. But at this point, we have time to pause, think about it, regroup, fix the effluent lines. Let's take a look at the whole stretch of road from the Willow Lake roundabout to the Phippen roundabout. And if this project is as worthy as many believe, let's take the time to do it right. Thank you very much.
Stacy Brown.
Good afternoon. At this very moment, people across Prescott are casting their votes for our next city council. What matters most in that choice is ensuring our council serves as a responsible steward of taxpayer dollars, leading with accountability, delivering measurable results, and evaluating how every public dollar is spent to achieve the greatest return on investment for our community. As a systems engineer and project manager, I want to bring to your attention several major flaws in this project. The most significant issue is that the road widening project has no clear problem statement. The project materials mention congestion, safety, and mobility, but never define the current conditions and the desired future state in plain, understandable terms. Instead, the goals are buried in technical jargon that the public cannot translate into how it will change their daily experience on that road. Research consistently shows that road widening rarely reduces congestion in the long term. It typically induces more demand that eventually recreates congestion. And as somebody who commuted for 40 years in Silicon Valley, I can personally attest to that. Without a clear evidence-based problem statement, it is impossible to know whether the proposed solution will actually address a real need. And if we don't know that, how can we know that this is the best use of public funds? As someone who served 12 years as a school district trustee, I understand your role, and I know the weight of the responsibility you carry. A council that leads with accountability and fiscal responsibility would pause, address these concerns, and ensure that the public is on board before committing millions of taxpayer dollars to a project built on unclear assumptions. Because in the end, knowingly wasting taxpayer dollars isn't just bad governance, it's a breach of the public trust. And now that you know, the question is this council a responsible steward of taxpayer dollars? As always, thank you for your service.
Ralph Hess.
Good afternoon, Council. I am Ralph Hess. I live in Prescott, Arizona. I'm just going to say that I agree with what all of the previous speakers have said, and I've reduced my comments as a result of that. They're highly qualified, they know what they're talking about, and I fully support it. The only thing I want to add is that this project has been the subject of the current council election campaign. And council candidates are asking voters to support their respective candidacies based upon their expressed views regarding this project. So why not have the incoming council make the decision, thereby including indirectly voter participation in a decision that will not see any actual work begin until well after this current council has been replaced. And furthermore, based on what you've heard today, we have not yet heard a determination as to whether this project is going to be required to be put before the voters under Prop 401, which is now Article 6, Section 16 of the Arizona, or of the City of Prescott Charter. That needs to be also addressed. Thank you.
Linda Thompson.
I'm going to rescind my request to speak.
Richard Thompson.
Mayor Pro Tem, Council, thank you for allowing me to speak. Richard Thompson, Prescott. And I agree with many of the speakers that have presented before you. But I just want to bring up another issue. In 2023, there was another survey conducted and 1,300 respondents. And 84% of the people who traveled it regularly said they had no congestion. And 80% said there was no, they were opposed to widening. So and I'm one of those 80%. But just listening to their speakers, it looks like there's many, many, many issues associated with this. So I would suggest, I agree with some of the other speakers, that this be postponed to the next council, and we do a lot more study and really understand what's going on here. Thank you.
Dorothy Morris.
Hi, I'm Dottie Morris, and I want to thank you very much, the council and the mayor. I'm going to bring up another point. You have the stewardship of something else, and that's the beauty of this community. We could turn this into looking like San Bernardino County and cover the hillsides with roofs. We can pack it in. We could even widen the roads as much as we can, and we could cut out traffic lights, and it'll look just like San Bernardino County. And I'm putting it upon the council to look at the stewardship of our property. That is something iconic that narrows. There are films, famous films, that have been made there. Steve McQueen driving through, the famous scene in the Cadillac where he's pulling a trailer. Everybody knows the Granite Dells. They know that area. Why widen it? Yes, you can go ahead and you could build buildings, and I agree with Chief Bonnie. We need to do something like that. And if a building is inadequate, you build an extension to it. If it is in poor condition, you knock it down and replace it. You cannot do that with the Narrows. Once that decision is made to widen, you can't glue it back together. It's there forever. And all of you have that responsibility to think about. Yes, we could talk dollars, but we have to talk about the beauty of our community. We did that once with the mall. I remember I lived here. We talked about the mall was going to be bringing such tax dollars to this community. We were all excited. It actually went to the voters and they passed it. Some people like me voted against it because I loved Bowacker Hill coming into town, the grand entrance into Prescott. Now we look like a mining town coming in. It hurts me when I come into town and I see that. That was done. The city council paid to put the roads in, and as I believe, also some of the utility lines, and it cost somewhere around $15 million. Look at the tax revenue it brought in. Where is it? We have an empty mall. That was planning ahead 20, 25 years. And it was 25 years, and we have an empty mall. We have to look at our planning, and we have to look at what's important in this community. And I want to thank you all very much for your consideration. And I hope you will study this farther before making any major decisions about that iconic, beautiful area of the Granite Dells. I'm president of the Granite Dells Preservation Foundation, and we hold that area as being just a precious gem. Thank you.
Rod Moyer.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Mayor and Council. Pardon me. I know that two of the previous speakers did the same thing that I did with that document of 429 public comments. And I know that it would have been very difficult for you all to analyze and digest and come to conclusions. And I know it would have been impossible for me. So I submitted it to an AI engine. And that's what I was referring to, two previous speakers did. Different AI applications will organize their responses a little differently, but they'll come to the same conclusion numbers-wise. And the numbers are overwhelmingly opposed to widening right now. Many recognize that it may be necessary at some point in the future, but they don't necessarily believe the projections. Development of services out north will tend to reduce the traffic on that road. People will be able to shop without coming down Highway 89. They'll be able to get to doctor's offices without coming down Highway 89. So the constant progression of assumed traffic on that road may be totally fallacious. Safety has been another sacred cow argument for widening. In fact, the proponents of widening have accused us, we who want to preserve the dells the way they are as long as we can, of valuing rocks above people. That's an ingenuous argument. We don't believe the safety is the problem that they state that it is right now. One of the previous speakers, Carter LaBarge, was referring to all of the most of the accidents being in the roundabouts. He's right. And yet we want to add more roundabouts. So are we really interested in safety? Also, most of the accidents that are on the straightaway between the two existing roundabouts were single car accidents. That means they're driver inattention. Is a 5-lane road going to change that? I think not. I think maybe you already got a handout from one of the other AI analyses, so I won't bother you with mine, but I'll just read a couple of points that the one I did brought out. Recommended direction to the city from the commenters is separate the utility replacement from any road widening considerations. And we've talked today about the I forget the name of it, but the sewer project to go to the new plant. We don't know yet exactly what the pipe designs will need to be under the road for that project.
30 seconds, Rod.
Okay, thanks. So when we do know that, what if we have to tear up completely a 5-lane road instead of a newly paved 2-lane road? What do you think that'll do to the costs? Thank you.
Joanne Ohlers.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I would like to speak on a potentially overlooked topic that speaks to the value of our Granite Dells Regional Park and Preserve. I recently, as chair of Save the Dells, received an invitation to interview as part of the SIMPO, which is now called Y-Plan, if you weren't aware, as a stakeholder in their group to help them understand, quote, the depth and breadth of trail knowledge in the area, discussing opportunities and challenges that may arise, and providing key insights in how to move forward successfully. So Y-Plan now has launched their Trail Connectivity Project, and they're asking community members and groups to contribute. We haven't heard any references from Kimley Horn regarding collaboration with SIMPO, Y-Plan, with the intent to connect the east and west sides across Highway 89. Right, as it stands now, those are like separate parts of the regional park that aren't easy to access across the road into travel. There is a connection up at the Fippen, and there's a connection down at the Watson Lake, Willow Lake roundabout. But we have some trouble at the Willow Lake, Watson Lake roundabout as an unsafe crossing for people who are using the Circle Trail, which is one of our crown jewels. And so we see strollers and pedestrians coming across there. It's not conducive to the beauty of our regional park and preserve. And also, there was an opportunity to include an underpass at Willow Creek, actually, south of Phippen Trail, that Joe Baines had proposed before he retired. And so my point is that this project is more complex even if we look at the trail system and the involvement of SIMPO in working with our regional park to make it more accessible. So we would like to request that improvements to the roadway are considered, whether it's for the centralization project or something else later, that we do pay attention to the trail situation and don't cut off opportunities for that connectivity. So thank you.
Terry Sapio.
Mayor and Council, you all know me as Terry Sapio, 38-year resident of Prescott and Yavapai Hills, and opinionated old fart. But today I feel like the child in the crowd watching the emperor parade his imaginary new clothes. And the reason why I feel that way is because I want to say what is obvious to everyone in this room, even though there are many people that don't want to admit this obvious future outcome. And that is that we all know it's inevitable that Highway 89 through the Dells will be widened. Whether it happens now, 10 years from now, or kicking the can down Highway 89 long enough, 20 years from now when some of us are going to be in nursing homes or pushing daisies. So what you really have to decide is, are you going to put the people of Prescott through the inconvenience and expense of tearing up 89 through the Dells and rebuilding it once, or doing it twice? Because we all know eventually it will be widened. So it's my hope that the city, that this council or a future council, it probably won't be the next council because of the way the political outcome of this election is going to be, will make that decision to proceed with the repairs that needs to be done and hopefully not put the people of Prescott through the inconvenience and expense of doing it twice. Thank you.
Mary Frederickson. Mary Frederickson of Prescott. And just momentarily to disagree with Terry, I don't have a crystal ball, so I'm not going to sign off on the idea that everybody in the room can appreciate this will be happening or needed to happen at any particular point in the future, because my crystal ball does not work. But even though I'm a candidate to sit up on the dais as a member of council, I'm not speaking as a council, I'm speaking as a taxpayer and as a resident of Prescott. I have my own thoughts about the value of the Narrows. I rank that quite high. I understand that different people have different opinions. For me personally, I don't want to see it disturbed. I think it's iconic and frankly magical. What I'm asking you today is to decouple the fix of the effluent wastewater lines that so clearly need to be happening essentially now. Decouple that from any consideration of widening the 89 through the Narrows, or frankly also the decentralization project, which to the extent that I understand it, involve new lines, not fixing the old lines. And there are two reasons for the decoupling. One, as I mentioned, the urgency of fixing the lines, the current lines, the existing lines that are breaking down, flooding, and all the troubles that come from that.
That needs to happen, and I don't think anybody's arguing otherwise. But the other reason is to avoid the trouble of calculating whether or not the projects as a whole bring up the Proposition 401 issue. There's the exception within the 401 language that accepts out repair or replacement of existing sewer and water lines. To the extent that we need to fix existing lines, that amount, that value, dollars, would not go to a 401 assessment. Everything else, the widening, the decentralization, to the extent that I understand that that's new construction, does need to be considered under 401 as to whether or not it is something that needs to go to the voters. I don't know that, but it is certainly something that needs to be looked at. In the meantime, we need to fix what's breaking down right now. Thank you.
That's all, Mayor.
Well, I certainly appreciate the public's interest and involvement and engagement in this very important and obviously a controversial issue. This simply is a public hearing, so we had a chance to listen to the public. And the next vote that will be taken, I believe, will be on the 28th. So at that time, we'll have additional consideration on whether this project, to what extent and what option proceeds or doesn't. So I appreciate everybody's interest and attendance today. And before I close this meeting, I'll include a quote from a well-known historian by the name of Bally Vazzoni. "Nothing opens the door for a totalitarian regime as surely as the elimination of God as a source and guarantor of our rights. You do not have to be religious to recognize that the survival of this republic is contingent on God's rule in the nation's affairs." So with that said, this meeting is adjourned.